The NFL Draft is right around the corner, and this year's edition of the Talent Selection Showcase has turned into a supersized edition of Let's Make a Deal even before it starts, with the top two teams slating the pick in this year's draft, trading out of the top spots in favor of stockpiling picks for the future, while others are more interested in the here and now. Randy Drautz is a freelance sports writer for NGSC Sports, and he joined me earlier this week to give me the lowdown on everything relating to the big day. Fantastic, Randy. So first of all, we want to take this occasion and welcome you to the Two-Man Advantage Podcast, and we're excited to talk about the upcoming NFL Draft with you tonight, buddy.
I'm excited as well. Thanks for having me, Kevin.
So as we both know, the Rams made a major trade earlier this week to get the number one pick in the draft away from the Tennessee Titans. So I'm just wondering your general impressions of what the trade means for both squads.
Well, I think it was monumentally huge for the Rams. I think, obviously, leaving the city of St. Louis and being in Los Angeles, and their first game coming in the LA area, you're pretty soon obviously going back to the Los Angeles area. For me, I think it was big getting that first pick. I think Jeff Fisher had fallen in love with Jared Goff, actually the gunslinger from Cal, and obviously Carson Wentz from North Dakota State, probably right there. Maybe he goes number one. I think it's unlikely because of Jeff Fisher's love for him and what he saw at his pro day. And he's the best pure passer in this year's draft. So I think it would be crazy for them to pass up on him. I think obviously that's what they were thinking about when they made the move. As far as, because before that, they had named Case Keenum as their starter, and Case Keenum, Nick Foles, I think that they wanted to get off on the right foot. They drafted Todd Gurley last year from Georgia. I think that's going to be a heck of a combo, Goff and Gurley, and with some weapons to throw to that he can have a really, really good rookie year. Obviously, they gave up a lot to be able to do that. So when you look at the Titans, they're coming away with a lot of picks. The meat of the draft really is a lot of people saying 20 to 70, and Tennessee now has 6 picks in that top 76 area right now, and so that's going to be big for them. As far as quarterback goes, too, I think that they're probably sold on Marcus Mariota going forward. So they should be set at the quarterback position. Zach Mettenberger and Matt Castle also on their roster. I think obviously they want to go with Mariota and push forward to see what he can do with that high pick last year at number 2. And so I think it was a win-win for both teams. I think that the Rams are going to get their man, and you're going to get a ton of picks for the Titans, which is what they need. They need a ton of picks. They need guys at all kinds of positions, everywhere, offense, defense, on the line, off the line, skill players, and this is going to allow them to do that with the talent of this draft class, and then at the same time, as I mentioned several times, the Rams are going to get their guy in Goff, and I think creating a buzz in Los Angeles is a good thing, because I think there's a good chance that going into this year they may have some issues filling the Coliseum, and one thing they'll put some bodies in there is a number 1 overall rookie quarterback, and I think he has enough weapons around him to make some things happen. I don't even think they go probably 8-8, but I think they could have a 6-10, 7-9 season this year.
And talk to me about the news that broke today with the Eagles getting the second pick in the upcoming draft. Obviously, they seem to have their eye on a quarterback they liked as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they had their eye on Carson Wentz, and I don't think they wanted to let him go. I think when you look at the history of injuries with Sam Bradford with the Eagles, that I think they, in a lot of ways, they didn't really have a choice. I think several things. You have a new coach coming in for the Eagles, and with Sam Bradford there and his history of injury, plus the fact that he didn't really have a very good up and down season last year, not very consistent, and you bring in a guy that they want to be the face of the franchise, and a little bit different obviously than Goff, because Goff went to Cal, a big Pac-12 school. You have Wentz coming from North Dakota State, but if you look at big stage, what guys in the smaller tier college programs can do, you can look right at Joe Flacco. He came out of Delaware, and we've seen what he's been able to do as Ravens quarterback in his career, and really, I think it's huge for the Browns, because I think they're feeling very good, very good about the RG3 deal, having RG3 there this year. I think they're sold on him. They have him account as a backup if need be, but I think they're sold on RG3, obviously. I don't think they would have made this move if they hadn't been sold on him. And they get 5 picks out of the deal, so they're obviously a team that be able to compete in the NFC North is going to need be able to stock up on a lot of position players. So I think it worked out I think it's one of those things that worked out for both teams in this one as well.
And one of the hot button picks in the draft comes at 4 with the Dallas Cowboys. So can you give me an idea, assuming that both of those quarterbacks are gone, what do you think Dallas and Jerry Jones is going to do at number 4?
I don't think Jerry Jones is going to go for a quarterback. I think right now, sitting at number 4, the best 2 obviously are going to be gone, 1 and 2. I think they're going to go Jalen Ramsey, cornerback free safety from Florida State. Great ball skills. They're comparing him to Charles Woodson. I think, he's going to be the next Jalen Ramsey. I think this guy can really be a shutdown corner. He can play both corner positions, or he can play free safety. So you can put him anywhere. He has the size and speed to play at any of those positions. If he stays healthy, he would be a great pick for the Cowboys. They like to go secondary a lot in the draft. I think this would be a smart move for them. Tony Romo is obviously their franchise quarterback, and if he can stay healthy, that's going to be the key for them. I just hasn't happened for them. So if that works out for them, I think a great pick at number 4 would be, like I said, Jalen Ramsey, shutdown corner, a guy you can play at free safety or either corner position.
Now, when we look at the draft, 2 interesting players that are coming off major knee injuries are both Jalen Smith of Notre Dame and Miles Jack of UCLA. How much do you think their injury history will affect their draft status?
As far as Miles Jack goes, I really don't think his injury is going to affect him a whole lot. I think he was a top 5 pick. I think, if anything, it drops him into the 5 to 10 range, or maybe to the 10 to 15 range. But I think he probably goes at 7 to the 49ers. His situation is obviously quite a bit different than Jalen Smith, and I'll get into that here in a second. But there all these comparisons to Jack being the next Ray Lewis. I don't like any of those things, to be honest with you. I just like them to be the next. I want them to be the next Miles Jack, and because there's always going to be something different than he brings, and I want to see guys that aren't mirror images of perennial Pro Bowl and Hall of Fame players we've seen in the past. I want to see guys that have their own skill sets. I don't want to see another Ray Lewis. We've seen Ray Lewis, and that was incredible watching him play, obviously. But I'll get off that subject real quick and go forward with the question. I really do think he's going to go anywhere between 5 and 10 in the draft. His injury of the torn meniscus isn't ideal, obviously, but I think he's going to recover, and he should be just fine. When you look at Jalen Smith, interestingly enough, he was injured on a play where he was kind of got pushed back by Taylor Decker, who is a prospect that I think the Lions are looking at the 16th pick for your Detroit Lions there. And kind of a cheap play, and ends up tearing his ACL and his LCL. And right now, it's looking like there's talk that there could be some nerve damage as well. And so ESPN's Todd McShay even now it has said that he thinks Smith's going to drop out of the first round, and he could go undrafted with this injury. It has been noted already that he's going to miss all of 2016, all the 2016 season. But he's a top 5 talent. There's no question he's a top 5 talent, and I think because of that, somebody drafts him, somebody gives him a shot, and he probably goes somewhere in the second or third round. So obviously for Jalen Smith, that was huge. Obviously, if he had done it all over again, he would probably not have declared for the draft and stayed for one more year at Notre Dame with this injury and how the timing of it occurred. But in regards to Miles Jack, I think he's able to, get in there right away and make some noise for whoever picks him.
And just briefly, in our region of the country, obviously, we have a heavy emphasis on the Lions. And where do you think they'll go post Kelvin Johnson era? I know you mentioned Tyler Decker as one of their potential interest spots. So where do you think the Lions are headed at 16?
I really like Matthew Stafford. Obviously love Megatron, Calvin Johnson. It's unfortunate that, he's retiring now in his prime, but he's a very intelligent guy. He got his degree from Georgia Tech. His mom and his sister are doctors. I mean, he's smart enough to realize that, in this league, he's only a few more hits away or one more hit away from it really altering potentially the rest of his life. So I think he's making a smart move, and he has so many opportunities, going forward for him. I just think that was a smart move by Calvin, but you can't replace him, and so obviously there's some need at wide receiver. Really, there's need everywhere, but I would start first with Taylor Decker. I think getting a guy on the offensive line is probably going to be the right tackle position, which is kind of a trouble area for the Lions right now. I think that would be a great pick. And then Vernon Butler, potentially, as a defensive tackle from Louisiana Tech, as a guy that can fill in some losses on that defensive line for them. I think he's going to be, I believe he's the 46th pick for the Lions in the draft. Beyond that, I'm really curious in your neck of the woods with the Lions, what your thoughts are.
Well, I think the Lions have a myriad of needs. I think offensive line could be one, and they're certainly beefing up the defensive line with Haloti Nana getting older and certainly getting younger on that side of the ball. They've also picked up a myriad of wide receivers in Marvin Jones, obviously, was the big one, and Jeremy Curley was sort of a utility signing for them. So they're obviously changing their identity on offense, and certainly we don't know what Bob Quinn is going to do. So in this region of the country, we're all curious to know what direction Quinn's going to go and how much of the Patriots way he's going to bring north. But my final question for you is having to do with other draft headlines that we haven't covered in today's conversation. What else will you be looking for when the draft commences next Thursday and throughout the duration of next weekend?
I'm really curious to I'm always very curious to see who that last pick is, Mr. Irrelevant, as they coin that person that's taken last in the draft. And then the impact of these top 70, 80 picks. I think there's gonna, if these guys stay healthy and they can get them on the field, I think a lot of them are going to be starters and they'll have a chance. And I think these top 70, 80 picks, the talent we see on the field is going to be immense, like something we haven't seen in 5 or 10 years from these top 70, 80. And then I'm really curious to see the difference between, because I really do think both Goff and Wentz will get a chance to start day one, first regular season game. I wouldn't discount Sam Bradford from winning out that job ahead of Wentz for the Eagles, but I think they're wanting to go forward in a different direction, and I see that, and I just really curious. I know with the Eagles, I think it's a little bit smoother road for Wentz with how talented that Eagles roster is. And Goff, it's going to be a little bit tougher with the Rams, but I still think that the fact that this isn't really one of those drafts where a lot of quarterbacks jump out at you, and these guys are going to go 1 and 2. I really want to see how that's going to develop when the regular season comes around, which is a ways out, obviously. But I'm really intrigued by that, and I'm intrigued to see what 3rd, 4th, 5th round will bring as far as talent. And teams like I'm a huge Denver Bronco fan. I live in Colorado Springs, about a 1 hour south of the Denver metro area, and what the Broncos are thinking about. They have the 31st pick. Does Connor Cook from Michigan State, does he slide down and allow the Broncos to pick him up at I think it's the 31st pick overall? And if they can do that, obviously right now it's Mark Sanchez and Trevor Siemian there, so you have a rookie that's going to challenge Sanchez, I think, for the starting role. At the same time, I think that right now Sanchez is probably going to win the starting job, and I think that he's proven that as a rookie Sanchez has that he can take a team far. I mean, he went to the AFC title game as a quarterback of the Jets his rookie season. They had a very, very good defense. They had good skill position players. He didn't have to do a whole lot, and that's kind of what you're looking at with a Denver Broncos team.
Well, Randy,
he's not going to have to really do a lot to get them going forward, but I think Connor Cook would be a great addition to their roster if he falls in their lap at that 31st position.
Fantastic, Randy. We want to thank you for your time this evening in previewing the upcoming NFL draft. It's a 12th month of your business, and we always like talking football here on the Two-Man Advantage Podcast. Have a great night, buddy, and thank you for your time.
You too, Kevin. Appreciate it, buddy. Take care.